In today's unprecedented Oval Office meeting with a top North Korean official, President Trump told reporters he will, in fact, meet with Kim Jong-un in Singapore on June 12th. Here's part of what the president said.
We'll be meeting on June 12th in Singapore. It went very well. It's really a get-to-know-you kind of a situation. A letter was given to me by Kim Jong-un, and that letter was a very nice letter. Oh, would you like to see what was in that letter? Would you like? How much? How much? How much? It was a very interesting letter, and at some point it may be appropriate, and maybe I'll be able to give it to you. Maybe you'll be able to see it, and maybe fairly soon. I haven't seen the letter yet. I purposely didn't open the letter. I haven't opened it. I didn't open it in front of the director. I said, would you want me to open it? He said, you can read it later. I may be in for a big surprise, folks. I don't even want to use the term maximum pressure anymore because I don't want to use that term. Because we're getting along, you see the relationship, we're getting along. So it's not a question of maximum pressure, it's staying essentially the way it is.
Do you believe Kim is committed to denuclearization?
Yeah, I do think so. He'd like to see it happen. He just wants to be careful. He wants to be, he's not going to run and do things. But I told him, to be honest with you, look, we have sanctions on. They're very powerful sanctions. We would not take sanctions off unless they do that. But the sanctions are very powerful. You've seen how powerful. In other ways, you're going to see how powerful sanctions are when it comes to Iran. You see what that's doing to Iran. So we have sanctions on, and at a certain point, I'll tell you what, I look forward to the day when I can take the sanctions off of North Korea. I have a lot of good relations with, as you know, Chairman Xi. He's really a very wonderful guy. He's a man that loves China. However, he wants to do what's best for China. I think China and President Xi would love to see something happen. I didn't like the Russian meeting yesterday. I said, what's the purpose of that? But it could be a positive meeting. If it's a positive meeting, I love it. If it's a negative meeting, I'm not happy. Remember what I say. We will see what we will see.
And we will. Let's get some insights from our political and national security experts. Sean Turner, what do you think? A lengthy statement from the president, lots of Q&A following that extraordinary meeting.
Yeah, it was a lengthy statement, Wolf. And I think that to the degree that we made progress here, the progress we made is that there's a possibility that this meeting will actually happen. But that's the easy part. We have to remember that when we went into this, when we started this, what the president, what the administration wanted was clear, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization. What I found really interesting about the president's language is that there's kind of this language of managing expectations. He's softening on his language, softening on his rhetoric, talking about maybe there'll be more meetings, maybe this is a process. Every single expert who's watched this from the beginning has said that in order to get anywhere with North Korea, we have to maintain maximum pressure. And the president's already saying that that's a term that he doesn't even want to use anymore.
You know, I'm told, Dana, that the president believes this potentially could be a Nixon goes to China kind of moment. What does that say to you about his mindset?
He is so determined to get something done, to be the guy. You can see it in his body language. You can hear it in the way he talks, talking about over and over, rightly so, that presidents of the past 2.5 decades have not been able to deal with this, and they should have, meaning he's going to be the guy to do it. And that certainly is noble and noteworthy, and it would be absolutely wonderful for the whole globe if he were successful. The concern among even people who are in the White House is that he's so eager that he might sort of kind of trip over himself to come up with a deal that is not good for the United States. Now, he is certainly a deal maker, and that's how he ran for president. But this isn't a real estate deal. This is global, geopolitical, and nuclear.
You know, Gloria, talk a little bit about these amazing optics that we saw. All of us were watching all of this unfold.
Through the window.
Yeah, he was in the Oval Office. Right. We thought maybe for a few minutes, lasted more than an hour.
Right, 90 minutes. And then not only when the meeting was over, the president comes out, he escorts Kim Jong-un's emissary, who, by the way, is not known to be a nice guy, okay? Escorts him to his car, chats with him a little bit, shakes his hand, which the Chief of Staff Kelly did not do when he was on his way in, shakes his hand, and then when he leaves, then holds a sort of an impromptu presser talking about how the process has begun And, you know, the president is a producer. He's a producer of reality TV shows. He gets how this works. And the world is watching, and he wants the world to be watching. What's different about this, though, what was so striking to me, is that A, he changed his tune, because now he's talking about a process. He's not talking about getting things done. And B, this is so different from any other summit we've ever seen, because the people at the top are the ones laying the groundwork, it seems to me, rather than the people the experts, you know, the North Korea, South Korea experts from the ground up for months and years. This is coming from the top down, and it's a little tricky that way, particularly with these two men who are known to be combustible.
That's a good point. And by the way, we are told that when the president was speaking with the reporters, he hadn't yet read the hand-delivered letter from Kim Jong-un, but since then, he has sat down and read the letter.
Oh, he said he read it.
And then, yeah, but then he said he hadn't read it. He asked the director if he should read it. He said, you can wait. So he waited. He read the letter, so that is over with. And presumably we'll all find out about the letter sooner rather than later.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, Susan, let's talk a little bit about pardons right now. As you know, the president has been issuing these pardons, and the suspicion is he's trying to send messages out there to some individuals who may be implicated in the overall Robert Mueller Russia investigation. Roger Stone, a longtime confidant, advisor to the president, he potentially could be a witness. He told the Washington Post this: "It has to be a signal to Mike Flynn and Paul Manafort, and even Robert S. Mueller III, indict people for crimes that don't pertain to Russian collusion, and this is what could happen. The special counsel has awesome powers, as you know, but the president has even more awesome powers." That from Roger Stone. Does it appear to you that the president is sending a very loud and clear message?
I think this is a message, and I think Roger Stone's comments reflect that it's being received. You know, there have been prior reports about President Trump's lawyers previously having potentially directly discussed the issue of pardons with Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort's lawyers. Now the president's former lawyers deny that, but this really has been a long-standing concern. It's only heightened by the fact that these pardons are for the kinds of crimes, campaign finance violation, contempt, lying to federal investigators, that are likely to emerge in the Mueller probe. I think one thing you have to ask yourself, though, is that if you're in Paul Manafort's shoes, for example, would you risk potentially the rest of your life in prison, certainly many, many years, on Donald Trump keeping his word? You know, that's quite a gamble to make.
It's not an easy gamble at all. All right, guys. Dan, I know you're going to be hosting State of the Union this Sunday. You have a very special guest, Kevin McCarthy, the Republican Majority Leader. This is going to come up. A lot of other subjects are going to come up. 9 a.m., 12 noon Eastern. We will all, of course, be watching. Coming up, as the minutes tick down before his resignation takes effect, will Missouri's governor do anything about the sentence of many believe is wrongly, a sentence of a man many believe is wrongly on the death row?